we get to start. I can't believe that it is our 11th co-creator space blast.
Like I don't have enough fingers now.
I know, we've run out of fingers, and these have been so fun. So the blast is really for you and your pretend commute, because a lot of us are not commuting anymore. But these blasts are just basically to take the idea of what is co-creator space, which is about how do we help teams become foster adaptation, but also innovation, and really get people not waiting for it to happen to them, but saying, how can we co-create and be part of the solutions? And so this is a brainchild of Anne-Cécile, la la la, and Elizabeth Lemke. Hello. And we created basically a model for organizations, teams, but also individuals as to how can you foster a culture of co-creation. And so that's why we are excited today to invite you into the Culture Pub.
Exactly, where we hope that you're not too hot, even if it's like 35, 36 degrees.
Exactly.
And not Fahrenheit, that would be very cold.
Yeah. True enough. So this is, if you're in the high 90s, which I think a lot of places in the US, does anybody else use that weird system? Not many do. Not many do. Most of us.
I don't.
Yeah. I've gotten used to centigrade, not Fahrenheit. Although I do want to have the one argument that I always make for Fahrenheit, which is it is the degree of temperature that you can actually feel the difference on your skin. So that's why I think it makes sense when we're talking about the weather. It doesn't make sense when we're talking chemistry, but when we're talking weather,
it does.
Yeah. And therewith, we've already started into the subject of what is perspective, what is that belief, and what did we get used to, because that's the environment that we're socialized and we grow up in, but that is not the whole truth. And that's why we're meeting at the pub, because what happens in a pub, my dear?
Stays there.
Exactly. Okay, and Cecile's invoking the Las Vegas rule, but this is on Instagram, so that might not work.
That's not the rule. Well, when you are in a pub, what happens? You speak with people that you don't even know, and you don't know where they come from, and usually you have beautiful events and exchanges. That's why we are in a pub, because we can have a drink and not care about the belief system of the other one or the culture they come from, and just enjoy, especially when it's hot.
Exactly. And you get, and to your point, you get to know different people that you perhaps would not have met before. You strike up with a conversation, and all of a sudden there's connection. And as we look to, when we're talking about culture, we really want to address some of the perhaps the assumptions when it comes to culture, and that there's one culture ranking above the other, that there's a culture fit, that that there's these things that we have to fit into in terms of organizations, nations, whatever it is. And we're saying, forget about it. Forget about it. We're going to have a culture. We're going to have a culture pub quiz, and that's what you're going to be experiencing today in your co-creator blast. Okay. So,
exactly.
And our song, it wouldn't be a mixture of ages if I did not come in with Culture Club for the Culture Pub with Karma. So Karma Chameleon. All right, that was a blast from the past. But as lyrics goes, it says, there's a loving in your eye all the way. If I listen to your lies, would you say, I'm a man without conviction? I'm a man who doesn't know how to set a contradiction. You come and you go, you come and you go. Karma chameleon. So this is that aspect of, are we selling something? Do we embody something? Is this something that we assume because we see, Liz is from Oregon, therefore she must hug trees all the time and only eat tofu and drink a lot of beer. And Cecile is from France. She likes
cheese, at least, and wine. And I eat a lot of baguette. And I eat disgusting stuff like snails and We have very small portions when we eat, and it's very expensive all the time. That's crazy.
True. Yeah, exactly. And you smoke all the time. You don't even go to sleep. You just are constantly smoking, right?
No.
But that's exactly it. These are the
Yeah.
assumptions that people have as to, you see someone from a particular culture, and then all of a sudden you get blanketed with the assumptions that people have about your culture. Or and yes, there are poor representations. There are great representations of in every group. And so that's where we're going to be diving in. So hello, welcome to the club. Welcome to the
Hello,
Rashna. Glad to have you here. Okay, so as we go in, we have a couple of sayings that we wanted to share with you. I think we'll go into this first one. And Cecilia, do you want to do the first one?
Which is the one with heaven and hell?
That was
was
Charles V.
Like the speaking a language and stuff?
Yes.
Yeah, so look at this one. I love it. So it's Charles V or Charles V, depending on where you come from.
Sounds much better.
And he spoke different languages, and he say, I speak Spanish to God, Italian to women, French to men, and German to my horse. The assumptions that are behind all that, like women love Italian, it's the language of love. French is the language of diplomacy. I don't know why he spoke to God in Spanish. There is probably a reason behind that, but I just don't see it. And German to my horse, because it has to be organized and he has to follow. And it's just an example of assumptions of what is good or what is not good, and what works and what doesn't work.
Yeah, precisely.
But is it true? Are all Italians the best people to speak to women? Depends. Is French really the best language to speak with men? If they don't speak a word of French, you're lost. I tried that with my German guy, and he's like, keep doing it.
I love it. Well, and it's these pieces of what are the assumptions that you have behind the national culture. So if we take it to a little bit more of a fun, so we're going to actually ask you to do a mental exercise with us. So we're going to read a quote. I'm going to do the first one with the national cultures, and then Aunt Cecile's going to do the same quote, but exchange the national cultures for departments in an organization, and we'll see what you guys feel and what you guys sense. Okay, so you ready? All right, so heaven is where the police are British, the cooks are French, the engineers are German, and the lovers are Italian, and everything is organized by the Swiss. Okay, hell, on the other hand, sorry to say, it's where the cooks are British, the engineers are French, the police are Germans, the lovers are Swiss, and everything is organized by the Italians. Oh, of heaven and hell. All right.
Exactly. And so let's imagine if we change the nationalities with departments names. So departments in an organization. Yeah. So we know there is HR, research and development. There is also, what did we take? We took marketing and sales. And so we took the same sentences and we looked at heaven. How would look heaven like? That was not really English, but that's okay. Heaven is where the police is HR.
Because we're so caring and loving.
They just love people. They just take care of everyone, and so there is no war. There is only peace and love.
Yep.
The cooks are marketing because they love to be creative and they take inspiration from very different areas, and you end up eating the best buffet ever.
Oh, I love it.
The engineers are the R&D or research and development department. Yes, they research and they develop. They're awesome engineers.
They're innovative. That's where innovation happens, is exactly in R&D.
Yeah.
Yeah.
logically.
Yeah.
And so the lovers, who are they? Sales. Because they love their customers, they love the user, and they speak their language. They just, they open their mouths and they just listen to the user, and the user is like, you understood me.
You know exactly what I needed. I didn't even need to ask for it. You already gave me the perfect solution. Sales, you're the best.
That's it. And who is organizing everything?
Oh, they have everything. They're on top of everything. It's yellow, red. We don't even use those. Green light for everything.
And it's project management.
Perfect.
So those in project management are the best, and that's heaven in an organization. Like if you could do that only.
Yeah, absolutely. All those PPMs, everybody has had their cascade project management. It's good to go.
It's organized, and everyone is doing his job at the right time, in the right cadence. Cadence is right.
No, you're absolutely correct. Absolutely correct. That's beauty and perfection.
Yeah, but imagine hell. How would hell look like? How would hell look like? Well, hell is where the cooks are the project managers.
It's gonna wet.
Because they plan, but they never do. They delegate the task, but
they're responsible for coordinating, but not actually doing. Okay.
So you're starving at the end of the day. The engineers are the one from marketing. Because they're creative, they have many ideas, so they develop, and they just never do anything. They have, we have the best car ever, but we never produced it. It's just, creative ideas.
Yeah. Or exactly. Yep. All these creative ideas of what the person could need, but are they technically possible? No, but they're the best ideas.
Yeah, exactly. And so guess who's the police in the worst ever company? It's sales.
Sales, exactly.
Because they're going to sell you stuff that you don't even need. They will be like, you did a mistake there, and I think you need to buy 500 products so that we are okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
They will sell you out everything they can.
Yeah. Those are the ones who are even able to sell the Brooklyn Bridge.
Yes, everything. Even like a carpet with holes in it. They will sell it. They'll be like, we're so good. Who are the lovers in this hell of a company?
I have an idea. So
my guess was research and development, because they will research and they will develop so many things. They will ask you thousands of questions, but they will never love you. They'll be like,
they will analyze it.
What's the problem here? And what do you really want? Are you sure you really, really, really want that? No, because we made some research and we developed some stuff and we think it's not the right thing for you. And they'll be like, and that's the part about loving. And hell would be when everything is organized by HR. Because they love people.
We love our HR colleagues, but
yeah, we love HR. I love HR too, and I guess they're somehow organized,
but the biggest complaint about HR, as we well know, is that they're completely separate from the business.
Yeah, exactly.
And they only work like police, and they only get involved when it's hiring and firing, and they actually don't care about people, right? So these are the things that the stereotypes that people say about. We've heard them about the national cultures, and now we've dove into a little bit jocularly, a little bit funnily. But as we look to the departments, there are these different assumptions as to what do people do and what's their mindset when they're going to approach the customers, when they're going to approach their colleagues, when they're going to approach a project that needs to get done. And so that's why today you guys are in the Culture Pub. And we're going to be talking a little bit about what are those problems when we have the idea of what is culture fit, why is it problematic, How does it become from culture fit to culture snobbery? And then how do you reframe how you're looking at culture when you're talking about innovation, when you're talking about real collaboration, when you're talking about thinking outside and around the box?
Yeah.
What actually happens there. So with that, welcome officially to our talk.
Yeah. And we wanted to start the discussion with the problems that we see in hiring for a culture fit.
Yeah.
Because if we do that, we are basically hiring mini-me's or mini-yous, because you're hiring the people and we are too. And the thing is, if you only have mini-me's or mini-yous around you, you see the world with the same glasses. And the thing is, your glasses are tainted, so you see some stuff but not others. And so how can you be creative if you all look in the same direction with the same way of looking at things, if you don't have another way at looking at the situation? And so it's basically, when you hire minimes, you are fostering inside the box thinking.
Yeah. And it's oftentimes, it's this piece around, oh, he or she went to my same university. And they had the same professor. If they got through that, then they have to be really good. Or so there's a lot of biases and assumptions. If someone has perhaps a similar background to you, and it's easier and there's less friction when it's determined around a culture fit of this mini. A good friend of mine calls it the son-in-law test, meaning that, can I imagine this person as my son-in-law? Okay, yes, then I will hire them.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's dangerous for the organization, because then it's the organization, the teams are not able to look and to see that there are things that are different, that the perspective may be totally opposite sometimes, but because they're opposite, they are giving, like it's a continuum. They give an opportunity to look at something in the middle or something totally on the right or on the left. And so what I like, there is a quote which is, you cannot solve a problem at the same level of consciousness that you created it. And when you replace consciousness with culture, because you could try, we were with the game of let's change the nationalities with department. And now if we talk about cultures instead of consciousness, then it makes the things also more clear that if you are in just one culture, you can't solve the problem that was created within the culture if you don't have an external point of view or something different. You can't be aware of the missing point, the missing perspective. And so the culture is really this filter of consciousness. We filter things through the culture we have, and we grow, and the culture is evolving, so it's never the same. But if we are only with people who are always going in the same direction, always thinking the same way, thinking, dreaming, then nothing new is possible. You can't adapt to something coming to you that is different, because you're like so into your thing that you don't even see that there is another door, that there is another possibility.
Well, and I think that's, and to break it in, so these, and the piece around it sounds, here, how are you getting different cultures in? And, maybe everyone, it's this piece around, oftentimes HR is self-referencing. I'll just take it from HR because I'm there. So we have all these programs. We know what we need to do in terms of there's a need or an organization. So we develop something. We would develop, for example, an employee onboarding. And it's a beautiful program. It has tools for the manager. It has tools for the employee. It has tools for HR. There's a very clear process. And there's all these beautiful reference guides and job aids. And then lo and behold, no one uses it. Really? Why? And it's because this piece of, there's a missing element of connection. There's a missing element of, what does success look like for us, for someone to be successfully integrated into the organization? Is it the person feels welcome, that is able to feel like, okay, I can express a different, I can express a different opinion than the common opinion in the team? Has this, like, excuse me, psychological safety? Or is it a boss who's able to say, okay, not only the major tasks, but this person is well integrated into the team and is able to really make a contribution to the team in terms of quality, in terms of the other departments, etc. HR is able to say this person is has time to productivity, which is great. They are a great cultural ambassador, and this is a higher, in terms of when we look at this person, that really embodies how we want to move forward together, because they bring a different plurality and different voice to the table. Oftentimes, no. It's, are the 90 days done? Have you had the check-in discussions? And is the person still there? Oh, that didn't happen. Doesn't matter. You got there the first day. You got your computer. You got your tasks. See you. And this is that piece of not understanding when we're talking about how do you create culture? How do you create a sense of well-being? How do you create a sense of that you can go against that common consciousness in terms of what everyone else is thinking? Do you have a different opinion? Can you bring it to the table? That's so important when you're trying to create adaptive solutions for situations that are changing. Because if everyone's going from the same kind of mental models of we've always done it this way, or that may be an interesting idea, but you can't bring it to this team because they'll never accept it, it will never go anywhere. Those are death knells when it comes to innovation, when it comes to adaptation. This is when that corset of culture fit is much too stiff. And that's when this mini bee, and that's what, you know, Anne-Cécile is talking about, or we're talking about when it comes to that piece of when you're looking at culture, how are you allowing, and how are you not only allowing, but also inviting different perspectives and different glasses to look on a particular problem, and understanding what is at the core real need of that customer and the user's user, so that what you're developing actually helps what the problem you're trying to solve.
Yeah. And it makes me think of, you know, the poem about the blind man and the elephant. I don't know if you've heard of it already.
Yeah.
But it's a beautiful poem about, I can't remember the poem in itself, but the story is the following. They put 5 or 4 blind men in a room with an elephant, and each blind man has the right to touch a part of the elephant. And each one of them is touching, one is touching the queue, one is touching the arm or the leg. They don't have arms. And basically they touch different parts, and they start to argue about what is an elephant. And one is like, it's very big and it can't move, it's so heavy. The other one is like, it's always moving in all directions, it's like a snake. And they fight, but only if they could see. And I think the thing is to take a step back and say, what are you seeing? You're seeing something I'm not seeing, and let's connect the dots. And when we are able to connect the dots, then we recognize we're touching an elephant. Oh, and the elephant is in the room where there is porcelain everywhere. That's why everything is broken. You know, and that's this attempt really to connect people so that they feel that they belong as a team, and that they are looking for a solution together. Looking for the elephant. And there's no right or wrong. It's just different perspectives looking at the same thing.
Exactly.
But from different parts of the system. And so understanding that the connection exists, we are sometimes not able to see them. And how do we create this capacity to see, to share this, you know, to become, to unblind ourselves.
Yeah, exactly. And I think when to just kind of picture onto that is oftentimes people get caught up when they hear HR or different cultures, and it's just you know, oftentimes we talk about culture as an onion. And what people get stuck up on quite often is just the external, or the things that we see, but not what are those elements around, what do we believe, what are the principles, what are the historical stories as to why do we solve this way? And so when we're looking, when we talk about culture, oftentimes it's, there's a parent group, and every parent group is exposed over time to different challenges. It could be there's, how do we understand what the cycle of life is? How do we understand what time means? How do we understand what power or status or an individual's role versus a role in a collective? How do we understand the use of space or the environment? So these are conundrums, challenges that each social group around the world, but also in terms of departments, is exposed to. And there become different norms about how these things happen. And when you grow up in them, or you've been exposed to them for a long time, that they become so self-explanatory that you don't even question them. This is when, like Aunt Cecilia said, we need to check our glasses. And to say, okay, what are those things that I'm assuming? Because there's not just one way to get to Rome. There's not just one way to go to the moon. And when we open up that space to say, is there a different way of looking at this problem? Is there a perspective we haven't entertained yet? And where could we get that? You really open up a new Pandora's box of opportunities as to how can you resolve a problem, exactly like your quote from Einstein, using different methodologies than what we had to create the problem. And that's what really makes a difference when we're looking at finding new solutions.
And that's also the idea of there is not only one way to go to Rome, but everyone will develop a technology that is different to go to Rome. Some people will go walking, some people will go with a car, some will develop a flying stuff, and it's a plane at the end. And it depends on the competencies and skills that we have. And I think that's going to be the topic of the next blast with talent. And it's all connected. And culture is also what kind of solution development do we prefer? Every culture has its own way of solving problems. Some are structured, others are like, just let's be crazy and let's see what happens. And we can learn from each culture. It can be a department culture or a national culture. And so that's really the point of opening up to this stepping back, sharing, and seeing how to go to work by co-creating the road.
Precisely. And that's why, here we like to say culture add. So here, adding to the discussion, adding to the solution finding, adding perspective and help. Here, values fit. So tying on to our last two blasts of 9 and 10 around values and principles. Here, how do those mesh? Because if the values are really far apart, you're really going to have a hard time finding any sort of common ground. And the third one is impact to parent. So impact forward, how, what's the contribution being made, and how will this help the team, organization, whatever you're trying to do, help move it forward. And so if you put those glasses on to say culture add instead of culture fit, you're not looking at the corset, you're looking at the opportunity, and you're also looking at that piece of, are we examining our own biases? Here, values fit, and looking at how are you making an impact forward together. It makes a big difference in terms of how do you actually approach the lens of opportunity or possibility, rather than, that won't work here.
And that's I think the thing that makes me always crazy when I work with teams or organizations that say, we've never done it this way, it's not gonna work. I'm like, have you tried just one time? Just once.
Little experiments make a huge difference. Exactly.
Like children who say they don't like something to it, and you're like, have you ever tried that? No, try it once, and then you tell me. Then you're free to not like it, but try it.
I love it. And that gets us to the piece around, our final element of looking at what are our recommendations.
Oui.
Yes, exactly. So here, Anne-Cécile, you just called out one of the great ones. So in terms of recommendations, so what are your recommendations when looking at the Culture Pub?
Well, looking at the culture pub, I would say just change your glass or take them out off,
Mm-hmm.
because you may just look different and people may not recognize you. That may be funny. Um, but basically, the idea is to try to change your situation.
Mm-hmm.
If you were used to work in marketing, try, if it's possible, to go work with research and development and do something there for 1 month or two. I think job rotation
Mm-hmm.
are
Makes a huge
great
difference. Yeah.
opportunities
Mm-hmm.
to look at the world differently and say, oh, now I understand why R&D are so weird with us, or why the finance are never happy with our business plans as marketing. And so looking at the world from a different perspective. So try to change. If you can't have a job rotation, go work as a voluntary somewhere to see what's the difference between working in the industry where money is the main point to working as a volunteer to do something that is not
Yeah.
directly linked to money making.
Yeah.
We also had the idea of improvisation.
Exactly. Yeah.
Intellectual. That's
Yeah.
a good one.
Exactly. So HR Improv is recommending improv. So this piece around, playing it like, yes, Bob. So if this were to happen, then what would happen next? And what would happen next? And yes, that is true. And what would happen next? And playing with it to the extremes to say, okay, and what would this happen? Or reframing it and flipping it on the head. So if there's a disaster scenario, why would this never work? What if this was the best thing ever? What if this really made the biggest impact that we're looking to have? So just switching the frame around how you see things and how you ask those questions. It's an interesting exercise, but it really does make a difference in terms of how you can open up perspectives within a team and within an organization.
Yeah, and we had a very big worldwide experiment with Corona.
Mm-hmm. We really did. Yeah, the open innovation and just like in terms of hairdressers, hairdressers mixing up the hair dye and you can pick it up out of their car is one thing my friend was telling me about. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Or picking up your food at a restaurant or whatever. There are many ways. Yeah.
Yeah, there are. And to close, I think, here, one of the pieces that I really liked a few years ago, Heineken, I don't drink the beer, but I do like their social experiment. What they did is they took people who had very different viewpoints. So in terms of the different poles of beliefs or the different poles of how, take it racism, take it sexism, take it anything you want, religion.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they did a series of, I think, 5 or 6 different social experiments. And what they did is they had 2 people who had never met before meet up, and they were given basically IKEA type of instructions. And what it was, and they had all of the building materials. So they were given a couple of hours, and then they built a bar together. Okay. So these 2 people who never met, they collaborated and they were able to build something together. Then this is the experiment that happened, is then they said, okay, well, you've both built something together. Now we're going to give you the option of sharing a beer together or a drink of your choice, because this is Culture Pub. But before you do, we want you to make the decision for yourself if you would like to stay and share a beer. This person, we want to inform you, has this opinion, which is the exact polar opposite of yours. Do you wish to stay and share a drink with them? And they had an incredible stay rate of the people having gone through that crucible experience of, going through something together and not focusing on the things that divide them and bring them apart, but actually sharing a common experience and a success, had a really beautiful turnaround. That the things that oftentimes, and this is particularly true in terms of social media, in terms of here in the US with the Democrats and the Republicans fighting at it, and we're forgetting that there's a common space and there's a common beauty in terms of how do we find our way towards each other and take off those glasses and say, how do we connect on a different level? How do we listen to one another?
Mm-hmm.
And how do we express ourselves in a way that we are also being included, being inclusive, and taking the time to explore different options together? So
Yeah.
I thought that was really nice.
Yeah, and I think it's a good example to finish the culture pub.
Yeah,
Because
I think so too.
we're building a pub of belonging, a pub of accepting each other as we are.
Yeah.
And I think one recommendation that we could add on the top just came through my mind, so I share it, is that next time that you work with someone, as long as if the person has a different perspective or opinion or belief system as you have, as long as they are not forcing you to believe the same thing, peace and love, accept, just tolerate that maybe different on something, because if I accept that you have a different opinion than you do, and we can just share a beer, so why can't we live together, And that's it.
Yep, comes down to respect. And I was in a call the other week, and I thought it was really good. They said, we are very intolerant of intolerance.
That's a good one.
Yeah,
that's a good one.
I love it. So with that, thank you so much for joining us. This was awesome to have you as part of our 11th Co-Creator Blast. My goodness. We're looking forward to seeing you at our next Co-Creator Blast, which will be August 25th at 6 p.m. And we're going to be talking talent.
You're talented, baby, even if you don't know.
Exactly. All right, with that, be safe, be well, stay curious, and we look forward to hearing from you.
Yeah, have questions, write us. We're happy to answer.
Yep. You can find us on Co-Creator Space here on Instagram, but also Co-Creator Space on YouTube and on LinkedIn.
Yeah, we're almost everywhere.
We're almost everywhere. Perfect. All right, thanks everyone.
Have a good evening.
Bye.
And see you later. Bye-bye.